The Loxahatchee River Tour is a very unique tour. It starts off with mangrove trees, and as you get further upriver you get into the bald cypress trees, and then we have a stop at Trapper Nelson's where you get to get off the boat and learn about Trapper Nelson, who lived up there from the 30s through the 60s.
My name's Bob Hastings. I'm a volunteer at Jonathan Dickinson State Park, and I'm going to give you a Reader's Digest tour of Trapper Nelson's Zoo and Jungle Garden. This was not here. When he arrived, it looked like across the river. It was all jungle. And about the only thing that was here was this little shack. He actually slept in an old trapper shack for a little bit. Now, picture this place in 1933. Trapper Nelson is 23 years old. He's about 6'4". He's about my height. He's about 240 pounds, about my weight. But he is solid muscle. He's been living on his own since a teenager. He's been living out in the jungles of Florida, trapping down at Jupiter and all up and down this river. And folks in Jupiter very quickly became curious about how Trapper Nelson was living out here in the jungle, and they started coming up. They would come up and visit him. Well, Trapper Nelson, being a very smart young businessman, decided it would be a good thing if he could encourage them to come up here, because he knew that if they stopped here, he could sell them stuff. He built that boathouse out there, so that if you rode up here to visit him, you could tie up at his boathouse. Now, he might charge you just a little bit to tie up, no problem there. He built this shelter so that you'd be encouraged to come up and have a picnic. And of course, he'd charge you a little bit for the barbecue pits because he'd have fires going for you. If you wanted to sleep overnight, you could sleep up here in the balcony. This is the first cabin he built on the property. And he lived here for a while before he decided this was too small, and he built the second cabin, and he would use this to rent out for folks who wanted to stay overnight. Remember, he's a good businessman. He wants you to stay because the longer you stay, the more he can sell you. For instance, this is his plant stand. He'd have fresh pineapples. Love pineapples. And folks that came to visit him would steal his pineapples. Oh. So he transplanted his entire pineapple patch out to an island in the middle of the Loxahatchee. So he had his pineapples, and he certainly would sell them to you, but you couldn't steal them from him. He put this together in 1937. And it's full of animals and other critters that he trapped here on his own land. Now picture yourself in the 40s coming down from New York City on the train. You've never been to Florida before, but you're going to have a Florida vacation, and you've never seen an alligator. You've certainly never seen a bobcat or a panther. And Trapper Nelson has this for you to come up and visit.